Was that the sound of a new standard in college basketball? I know that like them's be fighting words in this part of the country to say anywhere else might be the standard in college basketball, but is everyone, including Duke and North Carolina, or North Carolina and Duke, order not intended, and the other blue bloods, if you want to call them blue bloods, are they all chasing UConn? Yes. UConn is the new big bad bully on the block in college basketball, and it's important to recognize. Dan Hurley, their head coach, last night I don't think was his most likable moment. Trash talking to Zach Edey, coached a player I never like. At one point in time, he got on the floor and pushed his own player to get into the action. Can't do that. Here's Dan Hurley after the game.
I just think it's the best 2-year run, I think, in a very, very long time, just because of everything we lost from last year's team. To lose that much and again, to do what we did again, it's got to be as impressive a 2-year run as the program's had since prior to whoever did it before Duke. To me, it is more impressive than what Florida and Duke did. Because they brought back their entire teams, and we lost we lost some major players.
Yeah, but you would have liked to have had them back. Wasn't your choice? You're gonna knock Florida and Duke because they were more persuasive? Listen, UConn, they've won 6 of the last 24 tournaments. Like, let's establish why I'm so emphatically saying, yes, they are the new standard before I get into what that means for the teams locally and what that means for everybody else chasing them. They've won 6 of the last 24 tournaments. UNC has 6 in totality. Duke has 5 in the last 33 years. Okay? All of the arguments, that it's always funny, right? Whenever you make like a hard and fast argument, you always have to be careful because it can come back to bite you. All of the arguments that the Duke and Carolina and Kansas and whatever blue blood, Kentucky, all of the arguments they've made throughout the years, UConn can just say, yeah, remember what you used to say to us? Oh, you have 5 in the last 30 years. We have 6 in 24. Oh, you have 6 total. So do we. They have every argument that other schools have used now working in their favor. And you might argue they have a bit better of an argument because they've done it with 3 different coaches this century. You can't just say, oh, look, you ran into a mastermind in Coach K, and we don't know if it's still going on. Now they've done it with Calhoun. They've done it with Ollie. They've done it with Hurley. Give credit where it's due. There is nothing wrong. This is where it starts to get into how it affects the local teams and everyone else chasing UConn. There is nothing wrong with the realization that someone has passed you. Especially when we're talking programs. If you're talking players, sometimes you will never acknowledge it because you don't have the ability to get them back, right? I don't know. Diana Taurasi might never say that Caitlin Clark passed her in college career because Diana Taurasi can never go back to college and build on her resume and repass Caitlin Clark. So she's just going to dig her heels in and stay there. But if you're a program like a Duke, like a Carolina, there's nothing wrong with the realization that UConn has the upper hand right now. There would be something wrong if you were okay with it. There would be something wrong if you were accepting of it. What you have to be is wildly motivated. What you have to be is, okay, they got 6 and 24. All right, by next year, we can get one. They'll be 6 and 25. By the year after, we can get another. They'll be 6 and 26, and we'll start getting back up there in the rankings. It's a competition. If there were any triggered fans out there when I started this segment by saying UConn was the new standard, good. Use that as motivation. I don't know. Give to your NIL collectives. Pressure your coach. Pressure your program. Let them know what your standard is. Because if your standard is to be the best, and oh, by the way, my guess is when Duke is recruiting, when UNC is recruiting, they're not out there saying, if you come here, you'll be pretty good. They're probably saying if you come here, you will come to the standard in college basketball. If that is your expectation, you got to go earn it now because somebody else is saying the other thing with a better argument. UConn has rolled through the last 2 NCAA tournaments. We're not talking about rolled like they've won the last 2 NCAA tournaments. We're talking rolled like they've won each game handily. I saw someone saying, like the argument, right? And this is social media, so it's hidden behind a fake name and an avatar. But the argument was, is UConn the best team of, I don't know, however long, this century maybe the argument was, whatever it was. And the argument was, can you even name one signature moment from the last 2 tournaments for UConn? And my response was, well, they didn't need a buzzer beater.
No, they didn't.
They're ahead by 12. The signature moment, they slowly, methodically beating everyone in your path. I'm not saying they're the most entertaining team in the world. Shoot, Alabama was a better entertainment product. They were putting up threes all over the place. NC State was a better entertainment product because they had this scrappy upstart mishmash of different players that were unique in their own way. The entertaining isn't the name of the game. Winning is the name of the game. North Carolina used to win with 4 corners. That is the definition of like, hey, can we make this game more boring? They had to change the rules so it wouldn't be that boring anymore.
Virginia won a national title. That's it. That's all you got to say.
And we're praised for it in the moment, even though now we look back and we go like, you know what, their style of play is extremely boring.
Exactly. But they still won.
Winning is winning. UConn hasn't needed the Michael O'Connell bank-in buzzer beater to win a championship. That's a credit to them. So guess what, Duke, this recruiting class you have coming in. By the way, Tristan Newton, the MOP, back-to-back years for UConn.
Yeah.
Most outstanding player of the Final Four, ECU guy.
Yeah.
So, Duke, you got the number 1 recruiting class in the country. You have Cooper Flagg. You have Malawash. You have all these guys. You have to be able to put up the results that UConn got grabbing a guy from ECU, right? Donovan Clingan was a back half of the top 100 recruit. Really good recruit. Most schools would love to have him, but you have to be able to take all your top 20 recruits in the country and do what UConn did building around the 70th recruit in the country.
Cam Spencer was a transfer from Rutgers.
Yep. Yeah, do you know what? He is a special case.
Yes. Well,
because he is the most UConn player I've seen in my entire life.
That.
and
his brother does play in the NBA.
And he came from Rutgers. But there's and I'm not, by the way, I'm not disparaging the pedigree of anyone at UConn. Castle was like the 9th recruit in the country. They had that also, but they were not a juggernaut of monstars put together in a lab to go win a national championship. They just were a juggernaut that went on to win a national championship.
Their signature moment was hoisting another trophy.
So if you are North Carolina and you're trying to get the best shooting guard in the country, the ACC Player of the Year, to come back, if you want to chase down UConn, which is a new place for a lot of programs, right? You're used to being the hunted. Now you're doing the hunting. If you want to go hunt down UConn, there's one way to do that. Hoist trophies. And we're not talking about the small ones. We're talking about the one that everyone's chasing. Sometimes you got to call it like it is, and the first thing in acknowledge, or the first thing in solving a problem is acknowledging you have a problem. You're not what you were a couple years ago. Now, I'm not saying you're bad. You know, 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th, or 2nd and 4th, whatever, wherever you place them, that's up to you in the blue blood rankings. But number 1 right now is UConn. Unless you're going to go like, well, actually, it's UCLA. Miss me with that. It's like, actually, the Celtics are the best in the NBA. They have 1 title in the last 40 years. Relax.
Yeah. Different eras now, people.